What's up, you guys? It's your girl Loverlee, and I am back with another video. I know you guys haven't seen me upload any video in a while, but I've been super busy running my business. But as an event planner, you know the slow season is kind of up on us, so I will have a little more time to upload more content and more reviews and stuff like that. But as you can see from the title in today's video, we're about to get into some things. We're about to get into some things. There was a whole situation on Facebook and Instagram about this event planner who did not give the customer or the client what she asked for. So we're going to get into that whole situation and dissect it, and then we're just going to have a whole discussion in the comment section because I want to know what you guys think. Like, was the planner wrong? Was the client wrong? Or was they just both wrong and the whole situation was just a mess? Like, I want to know what y'all think because I just got to get into this. But without further ado, if you aren't subscribed to the channel already, please go ahead, hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and let's chat in the comment section, okay? Let me know your opinion about the situation in the comment section below. And guys, before we get started, let me just add that I am not blasting anyone. I won't even be putting the person's name or the business page. I won't be telling y'all their names, but if y'all already know the situation, then by all means go ahead and go read up on it. But I won't be the one to tell you who these people are. I just know that this situation is viral, so I'm sure 50% of you guys already know who it involves. So I'm not blasting anyone. It was public information and everyone was discussing it, and I would like to get into it and use this opportunity as a learning lesson because from this whole situation it made me went back in my contract and add some things. I'm sure after I finish telling you guys the story, you guys will want to go ahead and fix your contract too, and so that you guys don't end up in the same situation basically. So let's just get straight into it. I'm going to start from the top, and then I'm going to read the post and talk about it as I go along, okay? So let's just get into it. So this is the client review that started the whole back and forth on Facebook, and I'm going to go ahead and read it for you guys. And as I read, I'm going to be stopping and talking about it, okay? So just chat with me in the comment section below. Let's just go ahead and get started. The client says, I 100% do not recommend this event company for any party or celebration. She is unreliable to say the least, complete waste of money. My whole experience with her was a scam. The first picture is what I paid $520 for. So, guys, this is the picture that the client paid $520 for. Yes, you're seeing right. This picture. Okay? $520. Okay. This was what our expectations were and what we paid her to do. The second picture is her work that she did. So guys, here's the work that the client was presented with for her party. Let's just get into that. Let me just say this is not worth $520 at all. And $520 could not give that client the work that she expected anyway, but this is just crazy. Are you guys seeing this work right here? Okay, let's get into it. Still, don't jump to any type of conclusion yet because this story is not even close to be finished yet. Don't jump to any type of conclusion. Let's continue. She came hours late and was still setting up when all of my guests arrived. She then left the party before even communicating with her customers about her work and seeing if they were satisfied. I was so beyond upset at the situation, I messaged her. She proceeded to make multiple excuses as to why what we paid for wasn't what we got, all of which was apparently our fault. In her message back, she stated that our party wasn't at a normal time. Our party was hosted at a very normal time for any child's birthday party, 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. on a Saturday afternoon. She then said that we should have notified our guests and changed the time people came because she wasn't there yet to do the job we paid her over $500 for. So we were apparently expected to notify all of our guests 10 minutes before our party started to let them know that it was pushed back an hour because our decorator wasn't there to do her job yet. When we first set up this business transaction, it was stated that she would be there at 8 a.m. Then a day before the party, she changed it to 10 a.m. And then the date of the party at around 8 in the morning, she said that she would be arriving around 11:20 in the afternoon. I then messaged her back and said that I was concerned that she wouldn't have enough time to do everything we paid for her to do. And she continued to tell me that she would be able to in that amount of time. She then showed up 8 minutes before 1 o'clock to start setting up. Woo! All of my guests arrived and we're still sitting in my house waiting to be able to go outside. Baby! Being that she wasn't done yet, I didn't want my guests to go and sit in the yard and wait for our decorator to finally finish her job that she was supposed to be there to do hours prior to it starting. In this line of business, punctuality is literally everything. This situation was beyond unprofessional, no doubt in my mind that she is inexperienced and inconsiderate. After we messaged her upset about the outcome, we told her that we felt we were entitled to a partial refund because her work was not even remotely what we paid for. My daughter's name on the backboard she made was noticeably crooked. The balloons she put up weren't even the color I requested and paid for. Everything was supposed to be pastel. I never paid for teal balloons. I was also promised there would be seashell cutouts and so much more. It was supposed to be baby blue balloons. This was a small portion of what we paid to be done. She then threatened me with the police because some sequin backdrop was still at our house that she neglected to pick up right after the party and then wanted to at 11 o'clock at night. I never once said I wouldn't be returning her props. I was, however, trying to get my daughter asleep when she showed up at damn near midnight with the police accusing us of trying to steal her whack ass board with the crooked ass stickers. I'm appalled at her professional demeanor and how she executed the job she was paid in full to complete and neglected to the day of. I don't understand how 1 o'clock in the afternoon is early in the day to her. I also don't understand how she's trying to run a legitimate business. Her words, not mine. She would have the audacity to say the client was bombarding her. Like, sis, you were 2 hours late to your job. My party started in literally less than 15 minutes, and you still weren't there. Of course, as a concerned client, I am going to continue calling you, trying to figure out why the woman I paid over $500 to come and decorate my daughter's first birthday party was still not there. I mean, I totally understand that. She said, her replies were beyond ignorant and contained nothing but contradicting excuses and pure ignorance. The worst part is when we discussed that we felt entitled to a partial refund. She could have respectfully agreed with me and tried to understand where I was coming from. From a professional standpoint, she should have been able to handle the situation way better than she did. And for someone who prides herself on customer satisfactory, you would think that when the customer directly approaches her to complain about her work not being what the customer paid for, that she would want to reimburse the customer to avoid any later conflict. Fighting not only on Facebook but in person when she showed up to my house at almost midnight with the police. She then agreed to reimburse us for only $100. We paid $520, mind you, for the first picture to be recreated. The second picture is what we were given. I do not feel at all we got what we paid for even remotely. Absolutely ridiculous. So that was the client's statement, y'all. And the client also posted these screenshots under the post on Facebook. And I'm going to go ahead and read the last part of the screenshots because that is the most important. Okay, let's get into it. So the client sent this to the planner after the party, I guess. She said, "Hey, I just wanted to talk to you about a few things. I want to say I'm very sorry you got into an accident. However, you showed up 8 minutes before the party started to set up. I said a few times today that I was concerned that you wouldn't have time to get everything done before the party due to the time you stated you were coming. You guys were still setting up when all of my guests arrived, and aside from that, we paid $520 for this size and detailed work. I don't even remotely feel like it reached our expectations, let alone what we paid for at all. Her name was crooked, all of the background didn't even have sequins, and you rushed to leave before even taking a second to talk to me. You said to me in a message days prior, I'd like to say I run a legitimate business and customer satisfaction is one of my biggest dedication, something I'd never compromise. Honestly, all we ask is that we get refunded half of our money back. So, guys, before we get into what the planner replied, let me just say this is what the client expected for her $520, and it was supposed to look like the picture with the big mermaid backdrop or whatever. And we all know by now that that is not possible for $500. But we're gonna get into the planner side of story now. And that is when you get to start making your judgments. So meet me in the comment section. Okay, let's get back into this. Okay, so this is what the planner replied after the client sent her that long text message. So you guys don't even have to pause and read it. I'll just go ahead and read it for you all. So the planner says, I just want to start off by offering you my apologies, but also reminding you I got into a bad car accident. My truck totaled as well as the other party. Something simply out of my control. Yes, I was late. I said I was going to make it, but I didn't realize how long the police would have to intake information. Let me just pause right there because after an hour at the accident spot, and you realize that you were going to be like extremely late to the client's event. I know in your head you would love to finish the job, but at the same time, you know that you wouldn't have enough time, and that is your first opportunity to cancel and refund the client her money. That was your first opportunity to cancel and refund the client her money because you knew you wasn't going to be there in time. But I understand the planner wanted to execute a job. So let's move on. I could not just leave a scene like that. I even denied medical attention. My neck, arm, and wrist are very much in pain. Again, another reason to cancel. But let's move on. Due to trying to get to your event, as I can understand how much your daughter's first party means to you. It happened a little less than 2 hours in which I was on the way to your home. And then I had to unload the contents of my truck 3 times and drive it home each time so I can start putting some props into your father-in-law's truck. I was only able to fit about 5 balloon garland clusters, a box, and a bag in his truck. The client really don't understand what you're saying. None of this matters to her right now. My SUV only allowed me to fit the remaining clusters and a Chiara board. I had to leave behind a huge one and a smaller one. So she didn't even take all the props to the client's venue. Hence why the backdrop looks so, unfinished because she had to leave back behind some stuff. So, um, according to GPS, it takes 25 minutes to get to your home. Your father-in-law got to me 11:52. I told your father-in-law I would be right behind him. I got finished loading around 12:20 and went on my way. I really don't know how sooner you expected me. And that is in all caps, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? She's like, I was in shock from what happened and tried to be as fast as I can. My phone was literally on 1% and I was using the GPS to get to you, but I couldn't even use it properly because of your multiple phone calls. I even missed a whole exit and it caused me an extra 10 minutes because you kept bombarding me. I already got into an accident earlier. I really prefer not to risk another one at that moment. Regarding the design, there are many factors on why I choose to go with the design I did. Okay. So the planner went on to say, in my honest opinion about the late situation, I feel like if perhaps you could have told your guests what the circumstances were and pushed the party an hour and a half later, the time I need to set up, they would very much understand. So the planner is basically saying that the client should have just told her guests that the party was going to be a little late because she got into an accident and she won't be able to be there in time, which is very much understandable. But was it communicated? Like, did you ask the client if that was something that she could possibly do? Because what if she don't have the space and the time for that? If it was communicated, then I understand. If the client said yes, then it would have worked out for you. If the client said no, then it is what it is. But you cannot expect the client to automatically say, okay, I'm gonna push the time back because the planner can't be here. You have to communicate stuff like that. But let's move on. Your party at 1 p.m. is considered very early in the day. So now the event start time is the problem. Like, what? It's either you can make it or not. Like, you've been new the time. Let's move on. I know it put things out of whack, but could give me the appropriate time to execute my design without being rushed. Also, when we got there, no one was outside. We spent about 15 minutes deciding what to do about the sequin wall and didn't want to move any of the things you had around. About the crooked name sign, I can genuinely apologize. Once again, it was the product of being rushed. I would like to come and pick up my props tonight as well. Okay, so that was what the planner said. Basically, not really taking any responsibility, just making excuses. But we still have a lot to get into because the planner wrote a whole Facebook post. Like when I said 10 minutes, over 10 minutes of reading, that's what we're about to get to because she wrote a long post on her business Facebook page. I've never seen anything like that before from a business owner. But we're going to get into all of that, guys. These are some more screenshots that the client posted. You guys can pause and read it, but we're just gonna move along. So, guys, I'm also going to be reading along the planner's post on Facebook, so you guys don't have to pause and read it on your own. But let's just get straight into it. So she started off by saying, "Good morning. It's with a sad heart that I have to make this post to defend myself against a slanderous individual." So this comes after the client posted the review on the business Facebook page. Okay. So she said, "Considering the complexity of this story, it is only right that I start explaining from the beginning." So she's going to start from when they first interacted about the event. So just be prepared. It's super duper long. Okay. I will also note where I made my mistakes. I warn that this is a long and extensive post. Oh, trust me, it is. But I fully believe that in being transparent, I must release the entire exchange. I can only hope this serves as a more accurate depiction of what happened and provide an insight of how my business is ran. Let me just say, guys, the planner did this because after the client made that post, it kind of went viral. Like, it got over 100 shares on Facebook. So a lot of people went on the planner's Facebook page to leave bad reviews. Even though they weren't clients, they still went on there and left bad reviews. And we all know what bad reviews can do for business owners. You feel me? So that is what happened. This is why she felt the need. She had to come on here and make a post. Let's just continue. As my past clients know, upon deciding on design details, a retainer has to be made to book the event. Remaining payment is due 2 weeks prior to event. This is standard business payment protocol amongst many event planners and balloon artists. Up until now, it has never been a problem amongst my respected customers. Back in July, I received a personal Facebook message regarding an interest for a backdrop for a birthday event planned. I normally don't conduct my business interactions on there unless it's for family or friends. I usually direct people to my business page or new client contact form. But seeing some mutual friends and a friend referral, I made a choice against my personal judgment to continue. I replied shortly after, agreeing to work with her. Inspiration photos were exchanged and we decided on a specific one. Okay, so I'm going to pause there and take you guys to the screenshot of their first interaction, and you guys will see the first mistake made. Okay, let's go. Alright, so you guys can pause and read if you want, but the client inquired and told the planner what she wanted, and the planner is the one who actually sent that inspiration pic and said, basically telling the client that she could recreate that. So she told the client that she could charge her $700 basically, and the client said her budget is 400, but she can raise it to 500 if she need to. And I guess after some number crunching, as the planner would say, she agreed to her $500 budget for that exact decor. Like, she didn't even tweak it a little bit. She didn't say, okay, let me send you something that fits your budget more. She agreed to give her the same design for $500. So this is where the client have develop the idea that she will be getting that design for her budget, because that is what the planner agreed on. And that was the biggest mistake throughout this whole process. And that is why I can see why the client was mad. We know that that design is nowhere near $500. Like, if your budget is $500, don't even have that design in your head. But the planner is the one who presented that inspiration pic and agreed to the client's budget. She should have told the client that she could make a smaller version or send her another inspiration pick that would fit her budget more, because the client did not tell you exactly what she needs. She told you her theme and she told you her budget, and you as the planner and designer is the one who's supposed to come up with the design and go over it with the client, and then y'all come to an agreement and everybody win in the end. You feel me? Let's continue. So guys, I guess by explaining some of this, I can cut out some of what the planner wrote, or you guys can literally pause and read it. But everything I just said is basically what she just said in that little paragraph. So she said, in what I thought was an act of kindness and ability to help her while sticking to her budget, I agreed to $500. Yeah, nah. Mm-mm. As pictured, this was agreed on October 5th. October 9th, I got around to adding her to my client contact book and sent her an invoice. On August 11th, I reached out via Facebook message to remind her of the invoice I sent. I will call the specific invoice number 1. Overall, there were 2 invoices made and sent to her, so I will name them for reference purposes. She claimed she did not receive it through my app and stated it was read shortly after I sent it. I resent the same file once again the same day. In the invoice number 1, I had included a total bill of $550 and a default contract. With every event, I include a $50 non-negotiable fee for delivery, setup, and takedown fee, which helps me pay for gas mileage and goes into the cost of paying my helpers. She questioned my total of $550. I will assume it was over her budget. Once again, her design budget is lowered to $450 since the fee has to be included in her total payment. Once the payment total and some small detail were agreed upon, I stated a deposit must be paid to book the date as well as for me start working on her backdrop. She insists she deals with only cash and rarely do electronic transactions. Besides Cash App. I do not have Cash App. Hold on, guys. So she lowered her price. Her original price was $700. The client budget was $400 and $500 if she needs to go over. So she and the client agreed for the client to pay $500, right? So she lowered her price once before. She has a non-negotiable fee. The fee is non-negotiable. Like, you cannot negotiate the fee. She have a non-negotiable $50 fee that gets added on to the total, which brought the total to $550. And what she did? She lowered the price again because the client said her budget is $500 flat. So there she go, lowering her price again for the second time. Even though the fee was non-negotiable, she allowed the client to negotiate the fee. No, not acceptable. So now she her budget is what? 500, right? The budget is 500. Wait, I see 450 here. Her design budget is lowered to 450 since the fee has to be included in her total payment. Okay, so it got removed. The budget was 500 at first, but because she have a $50 delivery fee, the client overall design budget got lowered to 450, and the $50 non-negotiable fee made it 500. So in total, the client had to pay 500. That is crazy. So you only got 450 to design a $2,000 backdrop, and you still was about to do this job?
If 2 plus 2 is 4, right? And 5 plus 5 is 10. Okay. What the fuck is this?
According to the screenshots shown, she expressed many attempts to come and pay in cash. Proofs are shown that I informed her she can simply input her Cash App card into my online payment portal system, but she had chosen not to. So, and that's another mistake too. The client offered to pay cash, and if she's not about to come bring the cash to you on the day of, if you accept cash, then you should have already canceled her invoice, because we don't even planners don't normally take cash, but if you do accept cash, make them bring the cash to you the day of. Don't wait on them. Like, this is your job. You don't need to wait around for your money. Like, that is crazy. You should have already canceled that. Let's go. So, between these dates, many attempts were made to collect the payment. Later in the evening of August 26th, she sent a Facebook message that she wants to pay online. Here are some of my mistakes. So, mistake number 2, I never sent her a new invoice of our agreed payment. 450 design budget plus $50 delivery and setup fee. In a rush to get in the new invoice to her, I quickly draft a new one to send to her. You always in a rush, sis. And she said, I will call this invoice number 2. Along with invoice number 2, I sent her the total amount that needs to be paid, which is one payment due date of August 25th, 1 month before the project date. So this is the planner's policy. If your event is over a month away, then you get to pay a deposit to save the date, and then 2 weeks prior to your event, you have to pay the remaining amount. But if your event is less than a month away, then a full payment is due. And that is the planner's policy, and I'm sure the client knew that by then. I'd like to note these messages were exchanged in the early morning of August 27th. Later in the day, she messaged me to meet again, but I was not able to get back as I was busy in my days of getting ready to close on my new home. Who needs to know that? Preparing for my events on the weekend of, not to mention, juggle 3 children. August 30th, I wrote to her about my policy regarding full payment. Seemingly, she disregards my message and has no response to it. Okay, so the client keeps on ignoring her message because, mind you, the first invoice was sent the earlier days in August. I think like August 6th or something, and then now it's August 30th. The invoice should have been got canceled. Like, the invoice should have been got canceled because it shows by that time that the client wasn't serious and she doesn't respect you and your policy. So by then you should have been canceled her invoice, because at this point it's a waste of your time, and if somebody else needs to book the date, you can't really have them book it because you're waiting on this specific client, you know? So by that time you should have been canceled the client because she clearly does not respect you. Okay? So, seemingly she disregards my message and has no response to it. Instead, she asked to meet again. It finally happened. We met at a fast food parking lot where she proceeds to hand me over $250. Even though the client knows that the full payment is due, she handed the planner $250. That's crazy. By then, multiple red flags were raised between not keeping her words of when she would pay me to her blatant disregard of my payment policy. She said, I accepted it at the moment as I prefer to be confrontational and have interest in to still decorate her event. Between August 9th invoice sent date and August 30th, I finally received my first payment. 21 days of waiting on the initial payment. So she waited 21 days for her payment, and she told the client that the full payment is due and the client knew that the full payment was due. But when they finally meet up 21 days after the first invoice was sent, the client literally just disrespectfully gave her the deposit, even though she knew the full payment was due. And the planner accepted it.
What?
The planner accepted it. She said nothing. She accepted it. You should have told her no. Like, no, my full payment is due, or I'm not doing your event. You accepted it. You allowed the client to disrespect you, which is crazy. Fast forward to a little over a week and a half before the event, September 14. I had not heard back from her on how she would make her final payment. I reached out and she insisted to pay on the 23rd, 2 days before her party. Even though she know the final payment is due 2 weeks prior to the event. At this point, it was due a month ago. She told the planner that she would pay her on the 23rd, 2 days before the party. Disrespectful. Once again, no respect for payment due date. I had already stated to her by message and in an invoice on when payment was supposed to be made. Note in the message, I asked if she would like to cash app, her preferred way to pay besides cash. I do not have a cash app, but at this point, I was willing to have her pay my significant other's cash app account and have it be transferred to my bank account. Here's my mistake number 3. I had never made sure she signed the contract attached to the invoice, which was invoice number 1. Oh my gosh, okay. In invoice number 2, I never sent her a contract as I was in a rush to have her pay. Again, rush. Like, why are you always in a rush, babe? Like, why? I never sent her a contract as I was in a rush to have her pay. Biggest mistake ever. Who you telling, girl? Though I stated that she must sign the contract in order to be taken to the payment page, as shown in the previous screenshots, she never did. A red flag I was foolish enough to ignore. Girl, we've been seeing all the red flags before you. When I told her of a new payment policy and contract clause regarding $25 per day late fees, she proceeds to pull up and screenshot the default contract I sent her. So apparently she sent her a old contract instead of her new contract, and that is what the client is going off of. So she said, the one she didn't even sign. I will take fault for this one. I never sent her my updated contract. Nonetheless, I choose to honor it still and give her 3 days of leeway. I honored an old contract she didn't sign but chose to pull up at her convenience. I was starting to get concerned but pushed it aside. At this point, with how difficult it was for me to communicate with her and deal with her, I was ready to offer a refund of her deposit as I was starting to feel unpleasantries. Girl, I'm ready to offer the refund for you right now. Like, take it out of my pocket at this point. I choose not to as I felt perhaps it could all be some misunderstanding. Not to mention we were a short time away from the baby's birthday. Once again, I want to admit my mistake number 4. I misread the terms of my own default contract and skipped over the part about 14 days grace. Oh my god. So the old contract she has give her clients a 14-day grace period, which is the one that this client got, and that is probably what she's going off of. And it doesn't at this point it doesn't sound like it's her contract. It sounds like she got it from someone else, copy and paste it, because if it's your contract, that means it's your policy and it's your rules that you came up with. So automatically it's not something that you will forget. It's something that you already have instilled in your head because you wrote your own contract. So I'm gonna go off of it's not her contract. She got it from Google or she got it in a Facebook group or something. She just copy and pasted somebody's contract. This is not her contract, and that's why she's making so much mistake. Let's continue. I take fault of not carefully reviewing my own terms and can agree on client's reimbursement. The following conversation follows as I reiterated once again my payment policy and how she didn't follow through. As shown, I was okay with the payment being dropped off into my mailbox as it's enclosed and mail comes directly and safely into my home. I will let the following screenshot speak for itself. On the evening of September 19th, the Sunday before the event, I was met with multiple missed calls and Facebook messenger calls from two different numbers that I would assume belonged to her and her significant other. I continued to receive them and choose not to answer as this was my downtime that I was using to work on and move into my new home. Later, I then came onto Facebook and realized she posted on my personal Facebook page a similar post she sent on Messenger. I couldn't help but feel extremely harassed. So, these messages were exchanged via text. She said, "At this moment, I'd like to take the time to explain the purposes of retainer payment and how I manage the funds I receive." So she's explaining how much supplies cost and stuff, and saying she don't normally disclose this, and the reason why she take payments 2 weeks prior to her event. You guys can pause and read it if you want to, but I don't feel like I need to go over that. But I'm going to read this part. She said, "There is a reason why balance is fully paid 2 weeks prior. It is to ensure the cost spent is covered for. It would be a big risk for me to make something in a bad case scenario, not have it paid. Here I will here I will admit I waited for her to pay to finish any work. Once again, the Sunday of the event." So this is what I don't understand, because how you're saying that you're waiting on her to make a full payment before you start working when you in your head already know that you were going to do the decor regardless. We can tell that you were going to do the decor because you refused to give her a refund after all the red flags and the mistakes and the back and forth. You had already put in your head that you're gonna do the decor. So you should have been started on the work, because you wasn't about to cancel or give her a refund, because it sounded like you wanted the money and you was already gonna do the decor. So I don't understand what you mean by you're waiting on her to make the full payment before you start working. This doesn't make sense at this point because we can already tell that you were going to do the work regardless. Because she messed you over so many times and you did not cancel. So you should have been started on those backdrops, okay? So days leading up to the event, I estimated and gave myself a setup time of an hour and a half. Considering the assistance of a helper, I was not able to go to the event location to map out my design and instead choose to rely on pictures being sent from the client. As shown above, pictures were sent Friday night of the space it was going to be in. I had no awareness up until the moment that it was going into a tent. Nothing was mentioned verbally or text wise, contrary to what she consistently claims that it was going into a tent. I have to mention this because it is a key factor in how the design came out. I wasn't worried then, as she stated the dimensions was a 10 by 30. I did not take into account the height at varying points of the tent as its roof is sloped, which is understandable, but we're the designer and it's okay to tell the client like, "Hey, this is not going to work because of how the tent is shaped. Can I place it outside of the tent?" Or at this point, I don't know, you could have break down your stuff a little shorter or something. But if you know that it can't hold under the tent, like if we know that our design cannot fit under a tent, half the time I ask my client, "Hey, it cannot fit under the tent. Can I place it in a shady spot? Or can I place it outside of the tent?" Did you ask the client that? We'll wait for an answer. So, day of the event. As I wrote above, I was still working on some finishing touches of the on the backdrop and was running behind. On the day of the event, remember, we and she know and we know already that she was already going to do this design since the client reached out to her in August. the 6th. Like, she should have been started the backdrop because we already know that she was gonna do it. So I don't understand why she was working on it on the morning of. Like, okay. My initial setup time of 10 a.m. was pushed to 11:20 a.m. But I was still confident and assured her I will have her work done. I got into a car accident around 11:15 in where the truck I was driving collided with a smaller car at an intersection. A car accident. Not a simple fender bender where you just exchange insurance information and be on your merry way. Medics had to tend to some children in the other party, and I had to give my policy and my story, all while being surrounded by ambulances and polices. I contacted her first thing and informed her of my situation. In the moment, I was in complete shock and trying to process what had happened, what had happened, yet was still determined to deliver my work. You should have canceled there too, but let's move on. Here, I like to say she was nice to send her father-in-law to meet me to pick up party supplies. I was still with police, unloading truck, distraught, stressed out of my mind, and trying to leave back on the road to party location. I was able to get my personal car and leave the scene after. Her father-in-law arrived and helped me with the loading. I assured him I would follow behind after I filled my car. On the way to client home, the barrage of calls from her came in. I choose not to answer my phone. I choose not to answer. My phone had low battery. I was focused on the GPS, and for God's sake, I just got into my first car accident and beyond scared to even drive. Understandable. I already told her I was coming. I'd hate to sound this dramatic, but I even missed exit as her incoming calls was hindering my GPS screen and voice. But sis, she's really worried and she want to know, like, are you going to be there for her event? But at the same time, she knew you just got into an accident, so she could have chilled. I get it. This is where it gets interesting. When I arrived to the customer location, I was met with the client's fiance who greeted me briefly and left right away. Left right after. Okay. Walking to the preferred setup area that was shown to me in text, I was completely taken aback. The area in where I had to set up was completely unsuitable. The grass area was patchy, muddy, and we had to maneuver around dog feces on the ground. Ooh. Simply, there was no space for setup without getting our backdrop and balloons dirty. Unfortunately, that's exactly what happened. Also, the height of the area she wanted the backdrop on was not tall enough. For reference, in the photo below, the chiaro we delivered is about 4 feet. The height of the pipe I needed to install was 8 feet. I already stated that in text how tall and wide the backdrop would be. I mean, if she already had communicated that with the client, then the client should already know that it wasn't going to fit, you know? So that was definitely on the client's end. There was no way we would be able to fully put an 8x8 shimmer wall. This put us back fully. This put us back another 20 minutes as the client was nowhere in sight and my phone had died. We focused on the other part of the setup as we waited for her to show up. When she shows up, we explain to her the dog feces situation in which she apologized for. She acknowledged it. She said she had thought she cleaned them up and makes a remark about breeding dogs and raising six plus of them. I told her about the clearance situation. Not to mention, I sent a text over a day prior to about clearance space I need. I reserve the right not set go. What? I reserve the right not set go with that condition was met. What? That doesn't make sense. I explained and showed her the height of my pipe and drape pole. We went back and forth with placement suggestions, and I initially agreed to move the backdrop to the middle of the tent, where the ceiling is higher. That way, I would be able to erect the sequin wall fully. For the sake of the time, I ultimately decided against it. The churro wall and balloons were up against the side of the tent. She had wanted it. She had wanted it at. I snapped the 6x8 shimmer wall panels together about my half of what I would use on my 8x8 pipe and drape and attached to the tent bars itself. I asked for her permission and she okayed it. Behind the right side of the chiaro wall, I then continued to adjust the balloon garland and apply the vinyl letters and decal to the tiara wall. Okay, so you see in this statement, she did not add that she left some of the tiara walls at her home. Because in the text message she sent to the client, she definitely stated that she had to leave some walls behind, but she didn't state it here on her Facebook. But that played a big part in her design as well because she needed more tiara walls to make it bigger. But let's move on. Between, between the overwhelming scent and the presence of dog feces, unforeseen factors, the pressure to set up as fast as I can, I honestly believed I did the best that I could. The pressure to get done to leave was intense as she continuously questioned when I would be finished. I can understand why, though, as guests started to show up, which was a little after 2 o'clock. The party was supposed to start at 1, and you finished a little after 2 o'clock, and you had supposedly got there 12 something, I think. I don't know, like, no, 8 minutes before 1 o'clock. So she was there for about an hour, and this is what she came up with. Y'all saw what she came up with. At the time of the accident, I believed I was faced with two choices. I was to inform her of my situation and cancel, yep, along with full payment, with full refund, yep. Two was to continue on to the event, though I will be late. I choose the later. I really wish I was more realistic in telling her how much time I would need to get to her and set up from there and but I'd feel awful about leaving client with no decor whatsoever. In my mind, I choose to show up and do the best I could. Okay, guys, so that was all. I also have some screenshots from the comment section where the planner's significant other were kind of like being disrespectful to the client, like talking about the smell of her house and her kids and just the client in general, like super disrespectful and could damage a significant other business. So I'm gonna drop that there because I'd also like to talk about significant others in our business. So let's discuss that in the comment section. You guys can pause it and read it. Let me also point out that the price for the original design is not the point here. We already know that as event planners and balloon decorators that we already know that 450 is not enough for this. This is a $2,000 or more backdrop because I recently did one, so I already know how much it costs. That is not the issue at hand here. Most clients don't know how much supplies cost. So if a planner promised them that they can do it for their budget, then that's what they're expecting or close to it, not whatever this is. So that is just not the issue here. So let's not bring that to the comment section because we already know that. Let me also point out that this planner is a beginner. Like her work on her page is beautiful. Some of her work on her page is very misleading because it's not her work. I guess sometimes she's advertising like a moon, like a bounce house or something, and she will post like a big balloon decoration. And if you go on her page, like you would think that that is her work. I guess some people get misled from the work that she posts because not all of it is hers. Her work is beautiful. I went on her page and her work is beautiful, but you can know that she's a beginner. And I don't see anything on her page that shows that she could not have achieved this specific look. I mean, it's she haven't done anything like it, but it's her balloon work is very nice. Like you can tell that it could have been something. It could have been a great outcome if she had had the time and better preparation. I felt like she could have achieved the look, but I also felt like when a lot of people go on her page, they get misled by her ability because of some of the work that she posts on her page that does not belong to her. So without further ado, I don't want to make this video any longer. Just meet me in the comment section and let's chat about it. I'm gonna post more screenshots. So as I said, just pause the screen and read along and meet me in the comments. Give this video a big thumbs up, share it if you can, and subscribe if you aren't subscribed already. And this video is in no way blasting anyone. as I said, this is just a learning lesson for everyone. It's a learning lesson for me as well. You can know this person is a beginner, and when we were all starting out, we all had to deal with something major. Probably not as major as this, but we all had to deal with clients and stuff not coming out exactly how you plan it. So, no need to bash anyone here, and that is not in no way what I am doing. I did not include anyone's name. So, yeah, I'm not sending anyone to go bash anyone at all. Just to make that clear. Alright, guys, I'll catch you later. Bye.